For today's card, I keep saying it, but I'm going to try and do a quick slimline card with an oldie bitty goodie, the film strip die. And I'm going to be cutting this background out, but I'm going to cut it this way and then cut another one, and then another one so that the slimline card's going to go this way, but all the little scenes are going to go like that. Does that make sense? So I can't cut it this way. I mean, maybe I could. Maybe these are an exact square, but I just want to be sure that they fit. So I'm going to cut each one out individually to make sure that it fits behind the film strip. And then I'm going to do something that I did my first year with the Whimsy Halloweeners. I was a guest designer. And I'm going to alcohol ink some transparency acetate to make this look like an actual film strip. So I'm going to try that. And then I'm going to have this little mummy running through, which is also reminiscent of the first card I ever made for Whimsy, Halloween card I ever made. But I used a stamp zombie. So I'm going to use this little mummy, and then I'm going to use all these running people, and I'm going to have them running one way in the top, and then the other way in the middle, and then the other way over here. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. We'll see how it turns out. I may change my mind in the middle, but anyway, so this is the Roaming Monsters, and this is the Running Scared dies. These are new with this Halloween season, so I'm looking forward to using those. And then these papers are from the Nightmares Slimline paper pack, so I'm definitely using this one right here for today's card. So let's see if I can do a quick one, okay? Not do anything like super special, just do something quick and easy. So let's get making. I began by cutting out the Running Scared and Roaming Monsters out of Distress Black Heavy Stock cardstock, and I cut 3 sets of the Running Scared and just the one mummy because I knew he was only going to be in the last scene, and I wanted to have options with the Running Scared characters. Next, I set about cutting the backdrops from the Nightmares slimline paper that I had chosen, and so I needed to cut all 3 windows, and like I said earlier, I decided to cut them separately. I got out my clear acetate sheets from Simon Says Stamp. These are nice, thick acetate sheets, great for shaker cards, and my sienna alcohol ink, and you need the felt on the blending tools to be able to apply the alcohol ink. So I put just a nice squeeze onto the felt, and then I just rubbed it all over the acetate. And that's really all I needed to do, and it dries very, very quickly, just, less than a minute, and it's dry and ready to die cut. So then I got the film strip die, and I just ran it through my die cut machine once. That's all I needed to do, and it cut perfectly. All right, so I went around this with some ground espresso distress oxide and kind of went over this a little bit with some archival on I just grabbed one of the dome foams and kind of went around it with some of the archival ink just to give it a little distressing. And so I'm trying to decide if I want to cut something out to put under it or if I'm just happy with the way it is. And then I have these cut out. I did go around the edges of those with the ground espresso distress oxide. And then here is the backdrop that I cut out from the Nightmares paper pack. And then these were, if I just left them black, they were kind of too dark. So I put ground espresso on them, but now they seem to really blend in too well with everything here. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. Well, what I decided to do is go over each of those background squares with some old paper distress oxide, and I just rubbed it on with a blending tool so you can see, even just looking at them right now, that the contrast between the dark portions and that kind of foggy background is isn't it's not as it doesn't contrast as much. And so now my little figures really stand out well. I'm applying a little bit of collage medium to the back of each of the little running scared figures, and I'm just pressing them onto the paper. And each of the lanterns, I put a little bit of some orange paper behind them that I had. It's just a little scrap of orange paper that I had on my desk. And then I'm trimming them off because I want them to look like they're kind of running across the screen. And so the parts that are off onto the edges, I did trim off, like I'm going to be trimming off the lantern on that right side. And then that didn't take too long, but I had stamped a sentiment and I wasn't happy with it. So I'll address that in a minute. And then I put some glossy accents on the back of my film strip, left it as it was, just one layer, and I attached it. And now I am putting each of the squares into place with some collage medium. All right, friends, so I've made a couple of changes, so let me go over what I have made. I've been thinking about a sentiment, and I had picked from this stamp set, I had picked Need a Hug. But then I put it here. You can see actually where I pulled it up, and it pulled some of the color up. But I'm going to cover it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back there, but I didn't like the coloring of it. So it was this. And I am not good at stamping light and embossing light. So that went there. But I decided to make it do 3, 1 for each. And so I had this extra piece of orange from something, I don't know what, left over. And it was just kind of sitting here with all my other Halloween leftovers. And I also had this piece of black. So I just trimmed it down to just a tiny bit over 1/4 of an inch. It's probably 3/8 of an inch. And this was just a tiny bit more, so that there's a little bit of a reveal or a matte on there. And so I'm going to be using this and probably the lighter side. And I'm going to be stamping the Need a Hug in black because I'm better at that. And then I'm going to take this from this zombie. Let's see. This one is the Halloween Scream. So the one that says, wait, come back. I just want to pick your brain. I'm going to just stamp the line that says, wait, come back. And then I'm going to trim those up. And up here, I will have wait. And it will be just the word by itself. And then over here, I'll have come back. And then here in the center, I will have Need a Hug. So that's what I'm going to do for my sentiment. Here's my completed card, and I am going to admit that I wasn't sure I was going to even like it. When I got about halfway through, I was kind of really frustrated with my design ideas. But now that it's finished, I love it. And I am going to say that the thing that I think I love the most about it is that it's a throwback to one of my very first cards, actually the very first card I made for Whimsy Stamps Halloween a couple of years ago. And I used the Scream Time, which I used for this sentiment. But I just think that this is a fun kind of throwback to that just a little bit, you know, just giving a nod to that first card. So I love that part. And it was fun working with these new roaming monsters and running scared dies. They're so tiny and so fun. And I think that they could be used in a lot of different settings with stamp backgrounds and a lot of the whimsy backgrounds. So super fun, super affordable little metal craft dies. All right, So I left off with, I was putting in the sentiments, and I actually ended up stamping it twice so that I could have the dots in on both sides of this and on the one side of this, so it would give kind of, I didn't have to cut right up to the letters. So that's why I did that design choice with those, and then did end with the Need a Hug. I'm happy with the black lettering. I'm just not good with that white lettering. And so yeah, it still has that distressed feel that is, you know, my jam, the thing that I do. And so I like that. And I think the oxide kind of lightening the background so that it went with the kind of foggy background here and allowed the silhouettes to stand out was a good design choice. So we'll just kind of look carefully at, we have our 3 people just running, and then the little word wait, and then all 4 of them running, come back, and then just 2 of them left, and one of them dropped his lantern, and then we have the monster mummy coming after them, Need a Hug, which is also a little bit of a throwback to a card I made last year with the scarecrow, the Halloween scarecrow. So this was a fun card. Now that I look at it, I am happy with it. I'm happy with it how it came out. And like I said, I'm the most happy just with the way it kind of pays tribute to a couple of previous cards that I've made. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. This tutorial ended up going longer than I thought because I was questioning all of my decisions and redoing things. But now that I have made the mistakes for you, you don't have to make those mistakes. And this should go very quickly if you want to make something similar. It should go very quickly for you. I want to thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, you know what to do. Go ahead and contact me in the comment section for this video, or you can contact me on my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com for more information, and I can get back to you that way as well. All right, so thank you so much, and I want to wish you a very creative day.